Worldwide Stock Car Chat on Zoom number 262. I'm your host, Greg Galp. The gang is all here. We got Luff and Mike and John and Jeremy and Gio and Don and Garth and Craig and Courtney and John and Dewan and Jim and John and all the other non-Johns. Let us talk slot cars of any kind. You're welcome to join us at any time, starting with show and tell because I didn't get any topic suggestions. Put your virtual hand up so I don't miss you. Gio, are you ready to go? Go for it.
Yeah, so Avant Slot released the white kit for the Ferrari 296 GT3 car, so I got one. So the car looks pretty good. I have not checked the dimensions, if it's proper scale or not, but looks okay. So one of the details that kind of, me, I like my LED installations. So the Ferrari usually have fog lights in the center of the car. So you can see here I don't know if it's kind of. So they basically put the fog lights in the center of the car. They did the lights well, so I can put LEDs. There is also lenses for it, but then screw up because this car also has a fog lights on the side and in the standard position, but then put anything there. So I will need to kind of drill it, but that's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal compared to other cars. So
wait a minute. How much does the body weigh? Let's get down to the brass tacks.
Get your scale out.
I don't know yet. So I'm gonna check that. It's look. I mean, it's feel, because I go by feeling, because I try to see how much material I can remove. Feels that is pretty light, but there is possibility to remove material, especially from the roof and from the engine cover. And also there is the back side. Basically, it's the separate piece. So I have to see what can I remove from there. So yeah, the cool thing with this car comes already with the lightweight interior. So I mean, I'm not removing things. I mean, the only problem is that it does not have any kind of details. But the driver figure, it's basically plastic stuff. So up to you if you want to kind of reduce some weight from that. The other kind of bits, so it comes with two wings. So they already installed, there is a rubber wing, which is rubbery, but also not too floppy like sideways wings sometimes can be. Some nice details, for instance, with some of the grills already metal. So this was something that, for instance, a black car of Ferrari, the 458, they had that. It was very cool. And then sideways with a fantasy car, instead of having these kind of details, they put basically plastic details or grills that do not look that realistic, but it's good enough. There are also some other details for people like me that like the fake disc brakes that I've thrown on the floor. And I'm also even noticed that there is another kind of a nice bit. So the car comes also with both plastic and rubber side mirror. So you have a white ones that are the plastic one, and these are already rubber, which again, black car did. So very good bunch of details. Now, the only things that I'm not 100% sure is the way in which the body sits on the chassis. So there are part of the lower seals that are in the chassis. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a kind of a big lip here that basically should be the lower part of the body where it should be sitting. And I don't know I think I have to check if my chassis is flat enough, but seems that is not sitting properly. I mean, ideally, what I would like to do is cut these bits and then glue them directly on the body. This could be something that I could do. So the body comes with, the chassis has also a bunch. I mean, like, and the holes for the pod, and the pod can be screwed. I mean, it's different bits, so you can have either you can put 2 anchor point in the front, or you can have a middle pivot point that can basically, this is what Chris likes, basically kind of rotating the pivot point, rotating the pod. For me, the main problem there is that basically if I'm gonna put that kind of a system over there, because it gets almost under the front axle here, then I mean, the chip will be sitting too high. So, because you have to put something on top of that. So I'm not 100% sure how I'm gonna do that. I'm trying to order also SRP chassis for this car. So to see basically how that one would perform. Then what? There are a bunch of let's call it springs, so you can also put kind of a bit of a suspension there, like rear wheels are not air wheels, but they are in aluminum. Front are plastic, and the motor I think is 21 or 20K. I mean, I'm not going to use it for what I need. I think more or less, yeah, that's all. I mean, so it's a nice car, maybe a bit expensive for what it is, but I mean, for what I'm doing, I think it's worth it. So this could be a very good GT3 car, especially if you look at the configuration of the rear, which is very low. There is not much detail. So one of the problems, for instance, with the 488 is that you also have the engine and the windows on top of it. Here you don't have any of those kind of details because it's hard cover, so you don't see it. So gonna reduce weight where you don't need weight, at least for the kind of racing that I do or we do. So this could be this is gonna be, if I'm gonna race in Suzuka, my next entry for that race. And for the angle, I mean, the matching or the angle point for the mounting point for the body is 2 at the front, that is pretty forward, and 1 on the back. I think they could have done a bit better job with the guide, so maybe putting a bit kind of more forward, but given that I'm going to use a slotting plus very long guide, should be fine. Yeah, so that's all. Any questions?
I mean, I'm sure you usually take pictures of the parts with weight before you put them together and shave them down and all that stuff. So I'm sure we'll see that next time you have an update for that car.
Yeah. Now I'm going down on the floor to try to find all the
find your jump parts.
Hold on. Will a slotted pod fit in that hole in the chassis?
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah,
I think so, but the problem is that you can attach the front and the rear points, but not the side ones.
Yeah.
So it's like a scale auto type of mounting. So because you're missing the 2 sides here.
Yeah. Well, I know
that's why I'm buying the SRP chassis that is for a slotted pod.
Oh, I didn't know SRP had one. I got to go look again now. Okay.
Alrighty, look forward to updates on that. Mr. Mike, are you ready?
Yeah. In further developments of Garth's chassis, I took all of the reinforcement off the, let's see if you can see, off there to flatten the chassis out completely. And it's a super noodle. Well, you can see it twist. I mean, it's really, really soft, but it works. And it works better than the reinforced version. So now I need the correct wheelbase without the reinforcements to check that out to see how it works. So
you got a bunch of extra chassis. You just cut and shut. Do some.
Well, I could just ground them off, but I want the right wheelbase. So yeah. I figured if you're going to do it anyway, you could eliminate the reinforcements if that's easy enough. If it's not, I can.
Yeah, no, that's easier than moving the wheelbase.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, is that it?
That's all.
Oh, okay.
I was ill this week, so there's no racing or anything. So
Mm. All right. Well, thanks for that. And don't forget to send me an email because I'll forget.
okay, I will do that.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Weber.
Okay, this will be a little hint about what I'll be discussing. Maybe it won't work.
You're
Okay,
going to need to
hold
turn
on.
off your background.
Yeah. Sorry about that. See if this will work. There we go. See
You got
this?
something new?
This part, oops, this part over here. Everything's backwards. Anyway, yeah. Aussie Post. It's the mini lights that Alan, aka Lenny Broke, sent in our as a result of our discussion the other day. And they came the day after he asked in our last meeting. They came the next day. Anyway, yeah, they look good. They're nice. Just as good as anybody else's mini light inserts. So onward and upward with the Firebirds.
What car is that for again?
Firebird, Trans
yeah.
Am Firebird. Got a resin body of the early version, the early Trans Am Firebird. I think it's a 68, 67 or 68. And then the later version, the Atlantis 1/32 scale model, static model, I'll convert into a slot car. Good. That's all
All
I
right.
have. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Go ahead,
Thanks,
Jim.
Lenny.
Let's see here. I got a new car I'm working on, and looks like we're going to start a new class at Motown for a couple different things. So it's like we're going to start racing legends, and we're working on these Trans Am cars from 3A 3D. And I think a couple weeks ago I showed the Challenger, and this is the latest version of the Mustang. They also have the Camry, the Camaro, and the Challenger in the new versions. So I started working on it. Of course, being the modeler that I am, I started with the body instead of the drivetrain. So I got the body done. The body's got really nice detail. I mean, it comes with the decals for the headlights and taillights and that stuff, so I don't have to worry about that. And this is Tamiya pearl, light blue pearl with a metallic blue stripe. And for my modeling skills, it came out awesome. I really like it. Looks good. And I started working on the wheels now that I'm an expert 3D printer. And for a filament print, they came out okay. From a foot away, they look fine. And so they're going to be, I haven't decided to do silver or gold yet. So that's the update on the car. And then I just threw it on the test block just to see. I've got to paint the interior and obviously build the drivetrain. And so we should have a running car here by tomorrow, hopefully. So that's the update on the Mustang Trans Am car.
For the silver wheels, is that paint?
Is it what?
Is the silver wheels paint?
No.
What kind of material did you print it from?
It's a silk PLA.
That's what I was worried about. Silk has a really low layer adhesion value, I guess you could say. It breaks much more easily than regular PLA at the layer line. But if they're just inserts, it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah, from a foot away, they look fine. From close up, they look terrible.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't use it in a situation where there's going to be forces being applied to it.
Oh yeah, they're not the wheels; they're just the inserts.
Just the inserts, yeah. That does look good. When you first showed that, when you popped up the first picture, I thought, ooh, that's like a production car.
Yeah, that's well, I didn't talk about that's the chassis, and it comes as a complete kit, less running gear. So you have to have axles and wheels and motors and stuff.
Is the chassis? It looks like the pod is part of the chassis.
No, it's not. It's separate. I just put it in there. So it's a separate pod. It does come with a guide, and everything goes together really well. I did the Challenger. I haven't totally built it, but I kind of mocked it up a few weeks ago, and there's some improvements on this car that they've made running changes before the production cars come out.
Yeah, it looks good.
The only complaint I have is the complaint I have with every 3D printed car I've had. I wish they would print the interior with the roll cage separate because it's a pain in the butt to try to paint the driver and everything. So I'm probably just going to take a sharp X-Acto and cut the roll cage out and then paint the interior and then put it back in. But all the companies do that. I wish they would.
Yeah.
Wish they print the roll cage. So maybe it's too hard to print the roll cage separate, but it would make it much easier to work on.
Yeah. It would be pretty fragile print.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yep.
Alrighty, and I kind of have a show and tell that I'll just pop up here real quick. Since last week, I've made some incremental improvements to the Carrera plunger controller to pistol grip adapter 3D print. All right, get out of the way. There you go. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing that yet. There, you should be seeing it now. The first change I made was it holds the controller in pretty well, but for additional security, I went ahead and put screw holes on the side. There's only these 2 screws holding the side together. Well, actually, there's a couple on the bottom, but these are the 2 main screws that hold the controller together under the little covers that you remove in order to use the adapter. So you basically just take out the stock screws and put them through the adapter and then into the controller to hold the controller and all that together. The upside, of course, is that it's very secure. It's like it's all one piece manufactured. The downside is that you lose a little bit of purchase between the screw and the other half of the controller because it's being pulled out by a couple of millimeters. But it's still pretty secure. So unless you're gonna like try to yank the 2 parts apart or drop it to concrete, probably not a big deal. And anybody who's gonna do this should note that the top screw, and I only realized this by trying to do this, the top screw is a T9 Torx head screw. Bottom screw is a Phillips. I didn't notice that the first time I took one of these apart and completely stripped out that screw. So one of my controllers only has the 1 screw at the bottom to hold it together. So if you're going to take your controller apart to do this or any other controller servicing, make sure you've got a T9 Torx head bit or tool for taking that apart. The other changes I made to the design are mainly for reliable low friction trigger functionality. I gave a little bit more space on the prints on either side of the trigger. I gave a little bit more space on the post hole of the trigger and stuff like that, so that depending on the quality of your material and the accuracy of your printer and blah blah blah, hopefully you don't have to use any lubrication to make it work smoothly and freely. But if you print this out and put it all together and the trigger does not move freely, then you're going to need to do some post processing of your prints to make sure the trigger is nice and easy to move. I am working on other versions of it. Alas, although the controllers look the same, it doesn't correctly fit the wired version of the Carrera digital controller, and I don't expect it to fit any of the other controllers that have the same side panel pop out situation. But I'm going to borrow a bunch of those controllers from a friend nearby that's got a bunch of Carrera stuff, and I'll adapt this design to those other plunger controllers. And it's kind of funny, a lot of the I talked about this last week when I went over the design, but a lot of the, okay, not a lot, but a few of the people who commented on the various posts I made about this, letting people know they could go download this, was from your Carrera diehard slot racer who pretty much only uses the Carrera plunger controllers, and they've gotten used to using their finger to trigger the lane changer, and they're like, what about the lane change button? How are you going to do that from your hand? And of course my response every time is use your other hand, and lots of other people respond the same way. But I find it humorous that so many people have not explored any other controller options and have basically forced themselves to learn how to actuate those two fingers on the same hand so much that they would not only just do it, but also complain to me about my design not accommodating using the same hand for both things at the same time. Like the only way you could actuate the trigger, the lane change button on this, to have a bunch of multiple lever contraption on the side of the controller that you're trying to do from your thumb on the side or something, like a mag release on a pistol or something.
Fear not, Greg, for even Michelangelo has been criticized.
Yeah, people, haters gonna hate, but you know what? It's free, for crying out loud. That's the most amazing part, right?
I think that's why criticism comes so quickly. If people pay for it, they'll think twice. But if it's free, they
People
go, well,
pay
it's
for it,
free
they feel
anyway.
even more entitled to complain about it.
Yeah, depending. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It just,
So-
just makes it worse.
Yeah.
How is the weight distribution? Have you held? I mean, have you kind of?
The Carrera controller is super light to begin with.
Okay.
So I mean, I've held it in my hand and pulled the trigger on it many times, but I've not raced for a long period of time. But it doesn't feel like it's imbalanced or anything like that. It's
But
all.
you need to hold it with the two hands. So,
I mean, only to push the lane changer, but you can certainly just drive without changing lanes with one hand. I mean, but like I keep saying on all these posts, you're using two hands anyways. Every other controller by every other digital manufacturer pretty much requires to use your other hand to do anything.
even analog. I always held my control with two hands.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the SP controller basically, the name in Italian or actually in dialect, where
Si capello.
so basically meaning like hair dryer, right? So this really is a hair dryer.
Yeah. It has a look, and that was also a comment that people made. One guy said it looked like something that Marvin the Martian might carry around.
Maybe you can call it the real SCP.
The real SCP, yeah. Anywho, that's enough from me. Jim, did you have something else?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Maybe,
Anybody else?
Greg, if you had a persistent problem with those screws, maybe you could give them a little assist with some double-sided tape or foam between your component and the original.
Yeah, that would work pretty well too.
Kind of just stabilize it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like I said, the design without the screws is still pretty secure. It's fully functional without the screws. The controller might just wiggle a teeny bit while you're, going hard at racing your car.
Yeah.
The downside to using tape or something is that to get the thing apart, like if you needed to service the controller or wanted to change the trigger or something like that, that would be problematic if you had tape holding the sides of the thing to the controller.
It'd be kind of a mess.
It would, yeah.
But yeah, okay.
All right, any other show and tells? Moving along, Club Corner, if you want to talk about racing and stuff. I'll talk about my racing first. Last night, because Monday was the holiday, we decided to have our race last night instead of Monday. And instead of doing a race, we decided to do a test and tune for our next series, which is going to be NSR modern GT cars, GT3, GT4 cars, which we down motor with the NSR Baby King, which is a 17K motor. Plenty of speed for the tracks we race on. The main difference between them, of course, is the body style and therefore, all of that. Some of the older cars have different chassis than the newer cars because they, improved their chassis designs and stuff. And apparently they had been including a 14-tooth pinion and are now including a 13-tooth pinion. So some of the cars have, higher top speed or lower torque or, whatever the case may be. But I took my 3 cars and I brought my test bench, my H&B test bench, so that other guys could use it for their cars. And it was interesting because the track performance did not correlate to the top speed. And we've heard that a million times. And if Chris is watching, he's going, yeah, duh. But it was even more obvious. I mean, I knew that. I was not surprised by this result. This car was mediocre. It was okay. It didn't feel fast. It didn't feel good on the track. I've done virtually nothing to these cars as far as, tuning them, and I'm no Todd Ullery or Ian Douglas or anything. So these cars are what they are. But they all have the Baby King motor, but I didn't realize that there were different pinions. So I'll have to count the pinions. I haven't done that, but this probably has a 13 tooth because it's a little bit more recent. So this car was getting about 21.5 feet per second at, just under 12 volts. And it felt okay on the track. Like I said, not good, not terrible. This is an older model. It's the Audi R8. It was a white kit. Gary Skip did this one for me, so thank you to him for doing that fantastic car. 24.5 feet per second. This car was a dog on the track. I'm like, obviously it needs some work. It needs a Todd to do some magic to it, or for me to rewatch their videos about 20 times and try to work their magic. But it was an absolute dog on the track. And it did not seem faster than the other car, even down the main straight. Like the other cars seemed faster down the main straight. But that's probably because it just handled like shit. It was not handling well. And this car is the best of the bunch. It handles beautifully. It's getting okay feet per second. And I'll probably run this car. But the real question is, do I move the motor? I got to count the pinions, obviously, to make sure I'm not doing something stupid. But assuming the pinions are all the same teeth count, should I move the motor from the Audi over to the Mercedes to get that extra speed? I don't know what to do. I don't really care.
Are you running on plastic or on wood?
Most of the tracks are plastic, but some of the tracks are wood. The spec is basically stock tires, glued and trued. Actually, I have a picture of it.
So where did you test again? Sorry, because you mentioned that you were doing testing. Was it plastic or was it wood?
It was a plastic track this time. It was a Scalextric Sport track.
I think the Jim is gonna say this because you normally the slower the motor means it maybe has more magnetic power. That it's also what is getting you a bit better traction and performance overall. But the other thing to say is that this one, the Mercedes, is one of the last one, AMG actually. And I mean, they are already way above the Aston and the R8.
Just because.
So I would expect that basically, the one with the dropping guide are less performant than these ones, the new ones with that. But yeah.
This is an NSR class, or
it's
do you run anything?
It's an NSR class. We generally stay to
Buy a Corvette.
There were like 3 or 4 guys that had the C7.
No, C8.
C8.
Yeah, the newest one.
There is no blue and yellow, but I can make
no blue and yellow. Yellows, lots of yellows, but I was the only one with the blue and yellow.
The biggest difference, or one of the biggest differences, is C8. The body is about 3 grams lighter than all the other bodies.
Yeah, they were definitely doing well. Too bad there's no blue and yellow C8s.
I can make one for you.
I have my Geo car. I'm good.
What tires are you required to run?
Stock. I forgot. Let me.
NSR tires.
Give me a sec here. Messages. Okay. Tires, front, stock, rear. Super grips, 5230s. Trued and glued. We can add weight. I don't think I've added any ballast to any of those cars. But pretty much everything is stock other than the motor. So we're allowed to use either pinion And we can add suspension if we want to. NSR,
No.
suspension.
Dog doesn't like suspension.
Which
Delivery.
is the opinion? Because you mentioned that there are two type of opinions. Are you talking to me or to the dog? Stop.
Obviously to you, no, to the dog. But now I'll need you to repeat that last question.
So I was asking about the fact that you said there are two pinions for the GT3. I thought that there was stock coming with the 13 pinion 31 gear.
Apparently, they used to have a 14-tooth pinion.
It depends on whether it's an angle winder or a sidewinder too.
Yeah.
I don't think NSR do a pure sidewinder, do they?
I thought all of their
They
PCs were angles.
No, the GT3 car, most all of them come sidewinder or angle winder.
I mean,
Okay,
recent
so-
GT3 ones. Before, I mean, the R8 and what's it called the Aston, where they were just angle winder. They changed later on.
Okay. So
They start offering basically both options.
the spec does say angle winder, and we can use the red or the purple pod. Is the purple harder or softer than the red? Red's hard, right?
Yes.
So purple would be softer? I've never seen a
I
purple.
didn't even know they made it purple. Purple?
That's what they wrote.
I think the purple ones are really old.
Oh, okay. Okay,
They're
that's
the
probably
older
what it
ones,
is.
yeah.
Oh, it's that reddish purple. Yeah, that it basically uses. So same as the red pod, just they're allowing the really old pods.
You know, when we talk about an angle winder in this respect, are we talking about a different motor? Are we talking about an FK motor?
No, same motor format, but the Baby King rather than the King 21 or King 23 they come with.
Yeah.
Come with 21.5s if it's an angle, and 25 if it's a sidewinder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to. I'm pretty sure all of mine are the same, but now I'm wondering if I got a
The angle
sidewinder.
winders are 1331.
Okay.
If you put a 12 on that motor, it'll tame it.
It'll tame it, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Or you can just change the
okay,
motor.
because you're reducing torque and getting more top speed.
No.
Not sure about the
It's the
top
other way
speed,
around.
but
I always get it
you're
wrong.
getting it out of the
No, it's
torque
not the
band.
other way around either. You're not actually reducing torque.
You're
Well,
getting it out of the
yeah.
torque band quicker.
You get out of the torque band quicker.
Okay.
There's actually more torque at the tire contact patch, but for a much, much shorter period of time and at much lower speeds.
Okay.
And when you get out of that power, when you get out of that torque band, the torque drops significantly, and that's why it's easier to drive when it's
You
geared
just go
lower.
to a 32. It'd be easier to go to a 34 tooth spur gear
Yeah.
than change the pinion. It's just easier.
I mean, the only reason that 13 or 14 is allowed is because apparently they believe that 13 or 14 have been included. We're trying not to make people buy parts.
Yeah.
You know, we're already making them change the motor. So
Listen, we need to save this hobby. And we expect you guys in Washington to buy $4 pinions to make this hobby grow. It's on you, Greg.
Okay. Well, other things that are on me is a delivery at my door. So, who else wants to talk about racing?
Courtney,
Wow.
you gonna build a car for Greg?
Absolutely, I'll build it for him.
Can you what motors can you change to? Are you allowed to change to a different type of motor?
No, just the 17
Just the Baby King, just the NSR Baby King. Yeah.
FK 180 angle winder.
Gio's got something.
So if nobody wants to talk.
He's
Yeah,
gonna-
so go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I think I mentioned before, every end of the month, I think instead of racing GT3, we kind of rotated different classes. So last month was a Revo slot, so this time was we used the Dante slot Mustang. So this was the lineup. So if you remember a bunch of while back, I think especially my car had the problem with the short lap. So one of the things that I confirmed actually was testing my car with the stock firmware, and indeed that 6.5 volts short laps were happening or going into pit mode. So I upgrade all the cars with the latest version of the firmware, which is still in beta or beta. So which is the M17M that should cure the short lap. And indeed, basically, I don't think we had many issues, and we didn't lose any laps. So this is the lineup. So we have number 8, Colin. The number 5 is Combi or Mike T. Then this blue and yellow is Alex, and this maroon here is yours truly. So this lineup, then we did a bit of practice. As you can see, laps looked okay. So it was not too cold, not too hot. So track conditions were pretty good. Then we did the move to qualify, and I managed a 6.360 almost at the end. So there were a lot of crashes. So you had to kind of find a clean lap, and try to set a good, having good speed for it. And Alex was not that far off. The other two guys were a bit behind. I mean, number 8 car, the gray one or silver, has not been run that much, and Colin was still kind of struggling a bit with that. Combi actually, during practice and qualify, was crashing a lot. Maybe it was trying to sabotaging our qualify, let's say. But during the race, actually performed pretty well. So went to racing, and so this was the grid. So the racing that we do with these cars, so I've set up through RCSO2, I can set up a different kind of parameters for the race. So this is a GP race, so it's 100 laps, where basically you have only 2 sets of tires. Hard, that is the one that you normally use for starting, and then basically you can change only one during the race, which should happen if you don't crash too many times around the 70 laps, let's say. So you have 30 laps to go. But every time you crash, so the tires take a bunch of, the damage point takes also a bunch of your tire percentage wear from your car. So if you crash a lot, then basically your tire will wear quicker than others. So they have a lot of brakes. So, even with the tire wear, you don't feel too much the pain of, your brake fading. But I mean, it's also kind of personal preference, how you want to drive. So when I went to race, so here is it. So I kind of managed to sneak through the win. Alex was close by. So this is the only, I think, race where I got a short lap, but it's not a crazy short lap. So I have to double check the videos. I have not done it yet, so I have to see what happened there specifically. But all the others were doing okay. So the one that was again struggling was Colin here, but as I said, this kind of, this I think is 4th time back racing with us. Then went to race 2. So this is the grid, and race 2, basically, as you can see, Alex and I were really close. Fastest lap, also very close. And Alex actually fuel consumption, which is a first here, is less than mine, which kind of give an advantage when you have to do your only pit stop, because normally you can do only. I mean, you should do only one. And in the second race, then basically Colin managed to go over Combi mainly because of the damage points. And the difference, as you can see, we finished with the same lap, Alex and I, and this was basically the difference. This is Alex, and this means, so basically it's, I think, 1 meter, almost 1 meter between the two. So very close. It was getting actually towards the end. Then third race in dusk conditions, and again I managed to win here. I think Alex got some problem into the pit, or it also got a damage point. So Combi actually managed to sneak through, came second, legit, and Colin gained third, although this time was on crashing a lot. I think the other things, I mean, the things that Colin changed was racing on the outside lane, which although is slower, I mean, it can basically crash the less. So. And then last race, so this lineup is in dark with basically kind of a reverse grid. I think Alex maybe kind of went last on purpose here because he wants to go to in front of the grid. It's not that kind of important in the end. And actually, yeah, he managed to kind of win these races, despite the fact that he crashed more than myself. I had to repair. I don't know where I scrapped. I don't know if I kind of lost lap, but I believe that during in the pit, basically there was kind of a way for him to where kind of I lost maybe one lap because I waited a bit too long to go out because of traffic. Again, I mean, yeah. So this was our race. I mean, again, these cars are very close with each other. I mean, once they're running properly. And I enjoy them. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, yeah, they are kind of tricky to come out of the corner. So if you pull the trigger too harsh, basically they have a tendency of flipping on themselves. But is it just like a way of adjusting? So I'm not putting any weights or anything because this could solve the problem a bit. But, you know, I want to basically try to have them as a stock as possible because I prepare all of them. So I don't want to waste too much time. And yeah, you can drive them nicely, and yeah, they are completely stock actually. So I think it's quite a nice class. More people should buy that.
I think I'm going to go ahead and put that up for nomination for our next series. They're not as the cars are still expensive, but they're easier to find than I thought they would be. Especially, you know, the white kits, and there's a few options out there. So I'll put it out there. But you know.
You have to check because I've seen some of them on offer. So I've seen them on Evotech, for instance. They dropped the price. So yeah, and all the decorated one, I mean, the painted one, and also the white kit. So I don't know, and I don't remember if even Pendo put them on offer at one point as well. So. Yeah, I think you can find for maybe for a good price.
Yeah, I was surprised that they were still available and not overpriced.
Yeah, they were not a big hit, and then especially now they came in before the tariff, before Trump, right?
Yeah.
So the Trump effect was not there. So actually, they're kind of reasonable now compared to price.
They didn't get tariffed. All right, thank you for that, sir. Anybody else want to talk about racing? Lenny?
Lenny even here?
Yeah, he's right there.
Ah.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm just working on it at the moment, beyond scheduling this morning. So
it's all good. The floor is open.
All right. Let me find my share button. All right, we got that.
Yep.
I think everybody can see that. Okay, a couple of weeks back, we all trooped out to War Raceway out at Paraka there in the north of Adelaide, and it was the War Slotted Championship race day. So we had 4 classes. We had Group C, DTM, classic sports and racing cars, and LMPs / GT1s. And there's the Parc Ferme for everything, I think. Yep. So you submit your car for scrutineering and it stays there until you race. So there's no chance to do any fiddling with it before you race with it. So I haven't got any result sheets, but there's a photo of the track. So it's a fairly nicely built track, built about 10 years ago for the Australian Nationals in 2015. So yeah, I didn't the result, the sheets I didn't get. Well, I did, but there was a bit of a shambles trying to work out what was what because they never label them properly. So, but I didn't bother putting them up. So I've got a few videos as well as another shot of the track from the other end. A few of the worthies there. There's JD sitting in the middle with his Crow shirt on for some reason. That's an Adelaide football team in the Australian National Football League. They must have won or something. So there's some video footage. I'm not sure how long it is. This is the Group C race, I think. Looking at the cars.
Yeah, I'm getting just a black screen.
As we trying to work out where to stand.
Does anybody see that?
I don't.
Yeah,
Nope.
it's just a black screen for us for some reason.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I'll stop it. Let's try another. I'll try again. Like I said, I'm in a bit of a bloody tiz this morning. Running a bit late. Forgot to prepare anything last night.
That's fine.
As per usual.
I'll do it live.
Where are we? I'm normally pretty well prepared, but I woke up at 7:45 this morning and then it's not at 8:30 this morning, so I better get. Let's see another bet. Can you give me a couple of minutes? I'll come back there.
Yeah, that's fine. The floor is open, gentlemen. Anything
All
you
right,
want
mate.
to talk about, ask about, tell about? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'm going to try this and see if this will work. We had a race this last we had a race this last weekend at Fast Track Hobbies, and we were opposite the Indy 500. So we figured that we would. Oh, wait a minute. Optimize for video, share sound. Okay, let's see if this works now. Not sure what's going on.
It looks like
won't play.
it looks like it thinks you're drawing on it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where that came from. I mean, oh, there it goes. But the play button has been replaced by that for some reason.
Try a space bar.
Yeah.
Back home again at Fast Track Raceway, where it seems that I can see.
So now I can't stop it.
Escape.
Space bar again.
There we go. Okay, so we Indy's got nothing on us.
Sure.
So we did that. Bruce Douglas is the singer, and he sings the national anthem at a lot of our races, especially the HO races. So we're sitting there, go, Bruce, do you know Back Home Again in Indiana? I go, yeah, we'll sing it, but use Fast Track Hobbies. So we had the national anthem, and we had Fast Track Hobbies, and we were opposite the Indy 500. So we figured that was pretty cool. There's the group. The racing, we only had 8 people there. It was kind of a short turnout because of the holidays and everything else. So we ran Group C. Bruce, the national anthem singer, who is an HO racer primarily and has come over to the from the dark side, finished second. We ran Group 5. We run the same 4 classes at Fast Track every month. We ran Group 5, which Ted got the win. And then I got the win in F1 with a scale auto car and in GT3 with a Corvette. And ultimately set the fastest lap ever run there. First lap in the 7.2s on that track. And so, Greg, here's some hints on that Corvette. If you can add the axle tube in the back, add the axle tube.
No.
Not allowed?
No.
But you can add lead, I assume.
How much lead is that?
Not very much. It's golf club tape lead. That car is 86 grams total. But that strips of golf club lead on the side pods and on the motor pod is there for dampening vibration. It's not there for weight at all. And it did a masterful job. This car was absolutely planted on the track. And so you might try that. Just go to the golf store, get some golf club weight tape, and then just put it on the chassis.
Is there a mil thickness that you can?
No, I think it's somewhat generic. If you go to, I think I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, they just have a package of golf club tape, lead tape. And it's not very heavy because it's real thin.
Yeah.
But like I said, the reason to put it on there is to dampen the vibrations in the chassis. And it seems to work extremely well. If you remember the proxy race that the gentlemen from the Czech Republic have been doing extremely well in until the last race where Courtney won, but he put out a paper on what he does. And one of the primary things in that paper on how to make a car work is isolating vibrations. So that's where I got that idea from the paper that he wrote, and tried to isolate the vibrations as much as possible.
Nice.
And he said he uses tungsten, he uses lead instead of tungsten for that reason. Tungsten does not dampen vibration, and lead does.
Yeah, it just says up to 10 grams inside car. It does not specify how many.
Yeah, that's not very much. It's probably 3, maybe 4 grams, I would guess, because the whole car all up is 87 grams.
I use it. I buy it from AliExpress, and it's 0.2 millimeters in thickness. The stuff I buy, I've bought it before, and it's been 0.5, and I cannot find it at 0.5 because that's what I would have bought if I could. But what I've got now is a reel of about 1 meter.
Yeah,
and
it's not a whole lot thicker than the thick aluminum foil.
No, it's right. It's really, really thin. It's totally pliable.
Yeah.
Once you press it, if you choose to press it down on your chassis, it kind of reflects. It echoes all the shapes and molding lines and whatnots that are on
It's
your
not
chassis.
pliable. It doesn't even come in a roll. It comes in. Courtney will have it there. That's how it comes. That is a roll, but it's rolled up in that shape.
It's rolled up and flattened.
It's about 1/4 inch wide.
Yes. Yeah. 6.35 pickleball tape. You couldn't find it in the golf section. Pickleball, paddle, balancing tape. And I know Mike is a big pickleball guy. He's a semi-pro, so Mike's probably got a lot of that.
Notice how I went for 1/4 inch there instead of saying 6.35 millimeters.
It's perfect on the side pod of a C8 NSR Corvette.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to get back from the American 6.35 millimeters.
You're right. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 1/4 inch. Actually, that's wider than a 1/4 inch.
It's marginal. Yeah.
Yep. Good tip.
Yeah,
I think
good stuff.
I'll probably make use of that. All right, Lenny, you want to try again? Now you're muted.
Okay, so can you see that now?
I see blue.
Now it's blue instead of black.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what you're saying. What about now?
Blue
Still
screen.
blue.
Still blue? Oh, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because you are sharing screen.
Is it a
I'll skip
copyrighted
that.
video?
I don't think YouTube can do that in real time.
No, okay. All right, I'll
I
skip them.
When you try to copy like a screenshot sometimes of copyrighted material like that, the DRM in Windows 11 will block it.
All right.
Oh, what was the video of?
Well, they've videoed on my phone. I've never had that problem before.
that
But
one-
Okay, yeah, it's not. Okay, it's not.
Something else.
let me try again. I'll just move on from that. Hang on. Anyway, we had the trying to operate off of one screen here, and it's not working for me. So we'll jump onto this. I'll just try sharing again. It's amateur hour here.
If you shared the folder, we might just be stuck looking at the folder.
Can you see that picture?
I know
Yeah.
we see the folder of pictures.
Ah, all right.
Never done this before.
No. Someone else has done it for me. Come back to me again.
Comes out yellow. We know blue.
Sorry, guys.
I'm going to stop your share then.
Technophobia.
Yeah, well,
I'll
the floor is
mute
open.
myself so I can swear.
If anybody has anything they want to talk about or ask about, I'll look in the chat to see here. Someone suggested using tennis racket grip tape on slot car controllers. I said, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and how controllers from a few decades ago were big giant heat sink things that pretty much required two hands to use because they're so dang heavy. So everybody got used to using two hands even with the light controllers.
Okay.
Oh, John, Kit, didn't you have a topic you wanted to talk about?
Oh yeah, actually, I did. If this is an opportune time, I was just wondering with the costs of ready-to-run cars are escalating a wee bit, and I was just wondering, what is your price point? What is your tipping point to start building cars yourself? To start building kind of scratch-built cars to get a body of some sort of 1/32 scale or 1/24 scale and making your own chassis, either 3D printing or brass and steel or plastic. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that, folks.
For me, several $100s. Geo knows. I will pay good money to not have to do any of that nonsense. So a lot more than currently being charged. If I want the car enough, right? I very do not collect cars anymore. And believe it or not, there are several blue and yellow cars I have not purchased or pre-ordered.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I find that hard to believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Where is Greg and what have you done with him?
Yeah, really.
Prove it. Prove it.
Don't worry. I pre-ordered the Lister Storm that's in that blue and yellow livery. I forgot the Revo.
Listen, here's where it is. Whatever they're racing, if I like it, if we have to scratch build one, I'll scratch build one if I like what they're racing. I don't usually. I mean, I'm not a collector. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have way too many cars, but I like racing. So if we have to do a scratch built chassis to race, I'll do that.
Well, that's what you did for my Proxy, and it was a great car.
Yeah. Well, I just cobbled stuff together. I'm an assembler. I'm not a builder.
The answer for us is regulations, John. It's about whether or not we can. And most classes of racing that I've ever been involved in, we can't. But I am involved in one category, the hypercar category of the DISCA regulations. That's the one that if you wish to, you can. Although there are still regulations which dictate that they can't be a metallic chassis. And it can't be.
So when, even though you're like those regulations are basically forcing you to buy stuff, do you think that
or make
if you could or make it okay, but if you could lower the cost, do you think that would enhance participation in any way?
The gateway to manufacturing your own slot cars is still only just ajar. I think the advent of 3D printers is what pushed the door open in the first place. But it's only at this stage ajar. and for some of us, we've dived in there. But historically, most of my digital disc cars have been made of production parts. This is not the case for the upcoming 24-hour. And it wasn't the case for an event that we did in Suzuka early 2024. We took one of Jona's, which you could consider to be scratch built, if you like, custom built, entirely his own body shell, interior, chassis. The only parts that were production were the gears and the running gears, motors, wheels, stuff like that. But we've really pushed the boat out for this upcoming event, and we've pretty well designed the car from scratch. And the only production part will be its body shell and running gear.
If you look back in the 60s when guys were really, I mean, really into a lot of those chassis, although there were regulations, were built by, usually the driver. Yeah.
They aren't as expensive when you build them yourself. They just aren't. Even if you have to go and get your pieces of metal or your soldering iron, etc., etc. Once you've broken its back and got the equipment, subsequent ones become far, far less expensive than production cars. It's definitely an avenue, and I think that avenue becomes more and more attractive as the price of retail units go up and up. But likewise, not only does the price, but the quality of the retail units has been on the increase for as long as I've been involved in my latter years, which only goes back for about 7 at this time. But I've seen the quality of stuff that you can buy increase over that period.
But admittedly, there are some manufacturers who are charging quite a bit, who's have questionable.
Yes.
On
that subject, I saw something for sale on Facebook. I'm hopeful that one or two of you guys saw it too, and it was a Carrera supercar for $150. And what the guy had done is he'd taken the body shell off of a Carrera and slapped on what looked like a piece of folded pop bottle and called that a body shell, and was basically trying to sell the concept of a Carrera supercar just because it's taken away the weight of the Carrera body shell, replaced it with Lexan, and I thought,
but he put
that's great if you can make money from it.
But he put it on a Carrera chassis?
Yeah, it was all Carrera running. There might have been a pair of aftermarket tires or even wheels and tires, probably. But that's essentially what it. Did anyone else see that? No?
I saw it. It looked like it had a Coke box or something folded over it. I think he put an axle and tires on it too.
Oh
Handles like a wing, and maybe he probably stacked magnets in it.
Yeah.
I've seen ads for a dude selling race tuned Carrera cars, and they were basically he replaced all the parts with aftermarket parts and put like the gold magnet in and faster motor and all this craziness, and it's like, okay, yeah, but it's and then charging like double the retail of all those parts combined.
Yeah, it's comical to those in the know. Anyway, it's comical.
Yeah. The closest thing our analog club has ever done to a scratch build class was several years ago, and I think it was probably just after the slotted HRS chassis had hit the market, and we ran an HRS series with basically parts that you could just scavenge from a Group C car or whatever, and then you could put whatever body on it that fit the class. I think it was probably GT class or something like that, but whatever body, from another slot car or from a model or whatever, and then an HRS chassis. I think it was a ready to run HRS chassis kit. Like you get the kit and you get a fully functional chassis, a rolling chassis, and then just stick a body on it. And I participated. I found some old slot car body and stuck it on there.
Yeah, when my HO club had a little foray into 32 scale back in 2006 or 7, I think it might have been. We did a category of car that was entirely HRS chassis with a body shell of your choice. It was a reasonable way to build a slot car if you already had a body shell. With that same kit, the Sidewinder ready to run. It just came with some plastic cups that you glued into the body shell, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one you had to put the cups in the body and then trim the posts on
Yeah.
the chassis. And then the second one you had trimmable posts that that would go on the car that went into the cups on the chassis. That way you're not forcing the chassis to be stuck to that one body, and you could get
Okay.
replacement rails with the pins that go into the chassis much more cheaply for whatever cars you want to, put that chassis into if you wanted to do multiple cars. That was the big from HRS 1 to HRS 2. That was basically the change. They did some other
Yeah.
stuff too, but yeah.
I'm talking about the originals when I think they were new at the time.
Yeah.
That, and we tried to use, that was the enclosed wheel car. That was the regulation for that. And the other car that you were required to own was an open wheel car. That echoed the way the HO Club ran, with basically two cars that you ran on alternate lanes. And the open wheel car we chose was not a great choice because we chose the Scalextric Indy car at the time, which took quite a lot of work to blueprint it and get it to function at its best. And then it would break its wings off.
Yep. You were talking about, John was mentioning certain manufacturers of dubious slot car quality that are increasing in price. Pretty sure we all know that's Scalextric.
Yeah.
Their cars have changed very little, but the price just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up.
Many of them have gotten worse.
Yeah, some of them have. Yeah. Yeah.
We had one where we had to buy die-cast Volkswagen,
Gosh.
Yeah.
and you could do anything you wanted for chassis.
So it went on a Group
lead
C.
in there,
There you go.
but that was a lot of fun.
Wow, that'd be even more difficult to drive than a electric plastic one. All that.
Oh yeah, well,
heavy,
the weight of the body would give Wayne a heart attack.
Yep, but they're only $5.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I love them.
Well, you look at the prices of most of the model kits like now, and the ones that I can find. Because I just started looking at this again because I was looking for the Renault again, and notwithstanding that $140 kit, most of them are around $40. So you get a $40 model kit that you have to spend money on painting and stuff, and the HRS chassis or one of those, if it's loaded with wheels and tires and everything like that, is another $40-$45. And, you in that alone, you got $85 in a car.
And then you've got to add your time and effort.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the interest in it, but these they're not making tons of money on most of these cars, and most of the up that lately have been as a result of the tariffs, I believe, or taking advantage of it. Depends. That's still out, but
I mean, Scalextric were going up and up and up long before.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. Surprisingly, Carrera has held their own for quite a long time, but they take forever to get to a reasonable car. I mean, yeah, if you're going to race them, they are, but I can't do that. I mean, they're so bad to start out with.
But okay, but here's a thought. So like the Carrera bodies are quite nice. I imagine you can always lighten them. You get a motor with it. There's an opportunity to perhaps either 3D print a chassis or make a chassis yourself.
I was going to say these days the scratch builders are moving to 3D printing. That's an obvious choice. I mean, you can get a good filament printer for $200-300. You can get a good resin printer for $200-300, and then you're just if you're a scratch builder, you're just cranking them out. You know, there's tons of chassis and bodies out there to print. You know, dip your toes into some CAD work, and you're customizing chassis, and next thing you know, you're designing your own chassis. I mean, 3D printing is a scratch builder's dream, I would imagine, and I'd be doing more for sure if I was into scratch building.
Well, the popular class here in Australia is V8 supercars, and Scalextric aren't doing them anymore, and they're available on the second-hand market, but the collectors are getting in, and they're up around $150 just for the basic car. Then you got to throw away all the running gear, put decent wheels and tyres on it, and decent guide. So you're looking at nearly $200 in the end. So we've gone 3D printed as well now with a vac form body on it. I think I've shown them before.
Yeah.
I can give you an example. There's this one here.
And that's a very interesting color choice you have there.
Just happens to be right there.
So that's a 3D printed chassis with a slotted pod in it. We decided to go for a pod rather than doing the printed brackets and everything for the motor. And it's got a Scalextric level motor in it, locally sourced motor. And so that's a control. That's a vac form body that one of our local boys makes. So that's coming in.
What's the approximate cost to put that together then?
About 105 compared to about. That's with the wheels and the tyres and the motor and pod. It's a little bit over what we intended, but
about 10 British pounds, right?
I don't know what
it's about 50 pounds.
Is it about 50 pounds?
One of the
80 American dollars, I think, somewhere in that.
One of
it's
the
still cheaper than, and because Pato's got millions of sticker sets, you can build any one you like. You don't have to worry about whether it's what do you call it, a franchise one. So
a couple of the
so,
eBay.
So the boys are building lots of them. They're coming along. Young Andrew, our gun racer, he's sort of taken the project on, so he's sourcing all the parts, and he's got a mate that does 3D printing. He's got his own printer now, so he's going to start printing them himself. So, and later on, we're looking to maybe do some vac forming as well, print up some molds and then vac form. So it's way cheaper than paying what you do. So
what were you trying to say, John?
Sorry.
A couple of the eBay sellers here that are doing 3D printed bodies are printing Holden Tiranas and stuff like that. You know, they're like $18 for a body. Doesn't come with glass, but you know, and you know, some other Aussie cars and a lot of odd British cars, and of course British cars are odd anyway, but it's
I mean, that's like the Mustang that I showed before. That is a 3D printed body. The body is resin printed. The chassis and the motor pod are filament printed. And you get the guide and the glass and the interior and the stickers for the headlights and the taillights and all that stuff for $48. And they're producing something that nobody else makes, a current Trans Am car. It's not so much that it's cheaper, because when you buy all the stuff to put it together, it's going to be around $100.
Obviously, it's not unique, but it's something you're not going to see around very much, probably for a while.
I don't know of anybody that makes a Trans Am car.
No.
Oh, not TA2.
Well, not the
contemporary Trans Am cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make all four of them.
I mean, that's where the 3D printing really comes into its own, is all the things that the big companies aren't willing to do yet, or the things that are so obscure that there's just no money in it.
Agility. It's agility.
It's agile, yeah. You can very low overhead. And
that's quite a challenge to put a complete car together.
Jim, how was the finish on that?
Interesting that you asked, because I'm obviously I'm doing a video on the car. I primed. I did not sand it. I primed it. I painted it white because I was doing pearl, and then I painted the base color. So it's got 3 coats of stuff on it. You can still, and I purposely did not sand it. You can still see the lines, but they're so faint you can't see them unless you get up within 6 inches of the car.
Okay.
And so,
So there's been big
purposely,
improvement in that then.
yeah, I purposely did that to show people when the video comes out that you don't have to spend a ton of time. You can, will it be better sanding it and priming it? Absolutely. But it looks fine just without doing anything, just prime it and paint it.
Yeah. That's my beef with the 3D printed one so far, is that it takes so much work to sand them.
This is the body's a resin print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
this
And the test was, he sent me another one. He sent me a 55 Chevy, which is another line they make, but it was fully assembled. He goes, run it. And I ran it at Fast Tracks, which is a glued track, and it had urethane tires on it. And it didn't like the track, and it jumped off and hit the concrete pretty hard with no issues at all.
is this the one from Three Amigos?
Yeah.
I've got a car that they printed. I had them print me a specific body for a 59 Aston Martin. And when I got it, sanding was very minimal to get rid of the scratches. If you primed it first, then sanded it real light, then it was gone.
Yeah, like I said, from my application, you don't need to sand it, but it would look better, obviously.
It didn't take a lot of work at all. It's
Yeah.
very minimal.
You
The
can
resins,
barely feel the gradations if you run your fingernail over it. It's almost imperceptible.
So they do custom stuff too?
no, they don't. When they were first starting, I asked him if he would be willing to print me a couple bodies of a certain car because I wanted it wider than what the original one was by a little bit. So he widened it out, and then they printed them for me.
I see.
Yeah, Mike, are you more familiar with filament printed bodies or the
Yeah, more film
or like Area
familiar with the
71?
filament. I haven't given out any cash for the resin ones yet.
or Area 71, which are the nylon powder.
No, I haven't done those yet.
Yeah, those take, I mean, those are really good, but those take some work.
Yeah, the resin prints are pretty much. I would absolutely not personally waste any time, but that's me. But I think Jim makes an excellent point with and we'll see it in his video when he does some up close pictures. But yeah, you really got to scrutinize it, assuming the model that's being printed is a good model and not all faceted, which will show up in the print. But if it's a good model, then the resin print will absolutely be smooth enough to just go ahead and paint, fix any issues, but doesn't need the whole thing sanded for smoothness, like pretty much any other kind of printing. I think the main breakthroughs in the last year or two for resin printing is so much more experimentation has been done, and so many different resin formulations have been concocted by the companies and by people mixing their own things, that now a resin printed body for a slot car is not just going to shatter when you look at it, right? They'll take a hit and still stay together.
I think
this would hit the concrete pretty hard.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the improvement too may be coming from improvements in the software for the 3D printers, the slicing software and that kind of stuff, where you have better control over the gradation. I'm not sure what to call it exactly, but and the material itself, the extruded material itself.
Well, for a resin printer, it's a liquid. The machine,
PLA,
the machines have been basically the same. Resolution has increased, but again, if the foundational model is not of a high quality, then regardless of how good the print is, you'll just have a really high quality print of a crappy model.
Garbage in, garbage out.
And the quality of the models is also improving. The modelers out there are not just yanking it from a video game and slapping it into a 3D conversion program and calling that good. They're actually spending time, either to do it from scratch or to use the appropriate tools to make it a nice, smooth, high quality model, so that when you do print it out on a resin printer, you're not having to spend a bunch of time sanding facets off or whatever. And the materials have choices for materials and experimentation have improved enough that just go ahead and print, find out what the best material is from people who've done it, and then push the button.
Yeah.
So
I've
yeah,
never tried a quality resin body shell. I always think of those slush cast resins when I think resin.
Yeah.
I don't know what the recent ones. I appreciate that. I can see the smoothness because I see it at the Slot Festival. There are some there that are resin. I don't know anything about how they end up weighing.
Oh, they're light
compared to ABS injection molded.
The 3D printed ones can be about the same thickness, but that is part of the issue with the quality of the model, right? Some of the models that were being pushed out a while ago were like bad 3D scans, or like I said, pulled from a video game, 3D model. The video games can use a lower resolution 3D shell because they're slapping imagery all over the shell. So the shell itself doesn't look nearly as good as the car with the paint on it, right? If you could take the virtual car and pull the paint off, you'd see that the actual underlying model is crappy, and it's not thick. It's not truly
no thickness.
It doesn't have thickness, right? So
yeah,
they would pull the model from the video game. It would be all faceted. They would either spend some time trying to make it a little bit better or not, and then they would hollow it out poorly so that you would have big honking thick walls like a slush cast, or they would be paper thin in the wrong places and more fragile. But these days you get a model that's actually been properly designed for 3D printing, for resin 3D printing, and it's pretty much like a production injection molded ABS. I mean, wouldn't you say, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to find a picture here, but this is a picture of the Challenger. And if you can't see it in a close-up picture,
it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's that with a naked eye, I can see it, but it's so faint that it's what can I say? It's really good.
Yeah.
It is a racing printing, correct?
You're breaking up.
Sorry. So it's a racing printing.
Yeah.
That's Three Amigos one. Yeah. Okay.
The body is resin. The chassis and the pod are film.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could do a good chassis with the right kind of resin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of the guys in Three Amigos there really went to school on how to do that. The 3D printing of those bodies. They considered lots of different aspects of it, and that's really nice looking product.
Here's the picture. Here's a car that they custom did for me. Aston Martin DBR.
DBR1.
Yeah, and if you look on the inside of the body, like right in the back here on the top, it's extra thick. I ground that. I had two of these bodies. I ground it completely off. Then the hood was thick through here, so I ground some of that out. And when I got done with the body, it weighed around 14 and a half grams.
And that was clearly, if it's thick like that, then that's a model that wasn't specifically designed to be 3D printed. It was a model that they found. Maybe they did some work on it.
Well, actually, it was. I found it online, and I had the artwork sent to them, and they made it from that. But the detail is really nice on the body, and it's just in those two areas where it's thick. And then the other spot that's a little thick in the picture here would be right here on the sides, and it has to do with the way they built that for the vents and stuff, just to give it better detail. And I just took some of it out. I didn't do a lot of grinding. It weighed about 18 grams when I got it. I got it down to 15, just under 15.
Did you build one of those for your for that proxy? Was that yours?
I built one for the 50-50 proxy, but I didn't enter the proxy because they wanted urethane. I wanted rubber tires again, so I just bowed out.
Yeah.
I have one for that 50-50 proxy that I built for it. And that's what I got it for. But then they decided to go urethane. I just decided not to do it. I already had it built, so.
It's a good looking model. looking print.
Well, I actually have 2 Scalextric cars coming that should be here next week.
Really?
It's the first ones I bought, I think, in a year and a half or something like that. But nobody else outside of possibly Sideways coming forever down the line has the GT1 or GT3 Ford Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to see how the Scalextric one is doing. And I actually, the last one I got, the GT350 model that I had, was decent. Was not, not a terrible car. But the price at $65, most of the slotted ones are 70 for a much better quality car, much, much better. I wish that slotted could get things out quicker, but what they do is great. And almost every time you get a slotted car, it's improved from the last version of it or whatever. There's constant moving up on it. And that shows a commitment on the part of the company, which I applaud.
Yeah. You're breaking up again, Gio.
Yeah, but the problem with slotted is they don't make like a Beetlejuice movie tie-in car.
I mean,
sorry, spare me. Those aren't.
Oh, okay.
That's where Scalextric's bread and butter is, and Carrera's bread and butter is the Go sets on Christmas, and
yeah,
licensed cars make them money. The only, we have a lot of the stuff is because of those licenses. But can't
I'm
complain
still
about
breaking up.
classic Batman. That's a little bit better, Gio.
Oh.
You want to try
So
again?
the question from Mike is, are you gonna change the chassis for the Scalextric's Mustang GT3?
I don't know. I'm going to see how it goes first. I can run it in my class as a modern GT3 with Scalextrics, because I have 3 separate GT3 classes. I have a Carrera GT3, Scalextric GT3, and an open GT3 with the NSRs and the Sideways and those. Of those, the Sideways generally go the best. Although my current quickest GT3 is the Mercedes NSR AMG, or the AMG NSR. But that one also has a regular King motor in it instead of a Baby King. So it's a little bit of cheating that way.
Yeah, you have like almost twice the amount of magnetic downforce with that beast. Yeah.
So, yeah, what I did is that to keep it even, I cut the voltage down on that particular. I went in the software and cut the top end on it quite a bit.
Yeah, so which you made even better, because basically you have a lot of torque, you have a lot of magnetic power, but you don't have the crazy speed. So
yeah. I know. It was a temporary thing until I could get the Baby King motor or the Sideways motor. I haven't decided which I'm going to do.
So, do you have any fears for the Scalextric Mustang that's in the mail? I have one, and that is that it might be a bit narrow.
Yeah. Narrow and tall.
Yeah.
That's common with the Mustangs. And last time with their Multimatic Mustang with I haven't got it right here, but they said it was due to conflicts with the company that gave them permission with the So I don't know. I'm hoping that it'll be improved, because it would be nice, and or that they at least made some thought into it. But we'll see. I'm sure it will go decent enough in my GT3 class that it will be semi-competitive. So worst comes to worst, I can put it there. And I ordered the Hornet because it's an oddball. It's an oddball that ran Trans Am, so I'm going to see how that goes too. I don't have great expectations with it, but it'll be kind of fun, and I can play with the BOP if I have to get it to work with the other ones.
Yeah.
So
if you're gonna race the Mustang with the other Scalextric GT3, then should be there in the same ballpark, I would say.
Yeah. So, it's no great loss. And I like the way it looks, at least until Sideways comes out with theirs. It will be fine. I'm sure Sideways will be better in all ways, but it's taken a lot of time to come out. So I figured I would try this in the meantime. Yeah, I'm lamenting how much. I mean, the scale electrics are almost double the cost of Carrera now, but Carrera takes so much work. It's interesting. I've got the 296 Ferrari from Carrera, and the body is not too bad there. I've done a fair amount of butchering inside there, and cutting pieces out and stuff like that, and I've got it down to about 18 grams right now, so it's not terrible.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from a team in Belgium. So that is also using a Carrera body for the GT3 Euro Series there. So
Yeah.
they changed the chassis or not. I said that basically the starting point is not too bad. So
yeah.
So I think it's
it's
kind of
a
quite
peculiar
competitive as
twist of the
well.
regulations because the regulations have a minimum body shell weight, but you can't put ballast in a body shell below a certain height. And so what they're all doing is they're going with the Carrera body shell and its natural heft and taking the mass out the upper portions and leaving the mass low down where they would prefer to put ballast into other manufacturers' body shells. And so as a peculiar twerk of the regulations, all the Carrera GT3 body shells are becoming the ones to run.
But they're
Because
not
you're
as
not having to put
competitive.
ballast in.
Well,
Yeah,
at least
but-
they're decent looking. That I'll have to say, and they're reasonably in scale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they get that bit right.
So this 296 body is pretty nice looking. You look at it overall, it's done quite well. But this one, on the inside, I've cut out the sides. There's quite a bit of stuff that came on the inside, and I've chewed out the glass. I kept the original glass. I haven't gone that far.
Yeah.
I do have to start back forming my interiors, but I don't know.
That engine panel is right for engine cover is right for back panel too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. Team, the guy in Belgium did. So basically did a vacuum formed. But although it should not be in the rules, because the rules only say you can vacuum form if you're using Carrera Scalextrics, only the windows. And that is not a window.
Are they breaking the regulations there then, Gio?
Well, kind of they're pushing the stuff, but it seems that it's okay. I mean,
It's
also like they're
in their
changing the
defense,
body
it's
post
part of
as
the
well.
interior.
Hmm?
In their defense, it's part of the interior. It comes as
Yeah, but
part
it's
of the
an
original.
it's an external panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of the body post mod that they're doing that
Mhm.
takes them outside the wording of the regulations as well.
Yeah.
Actually, there's
I
gonna be
I
one
don't
of
think
those
that's a big deal, really.
in the well, depends. I mean, because depending how you're moving the weight. So one of those is gonna be in the 24 hours, Stefan.
Yes. Well, it's legal for WEC. It's the Inter series that it doesn't comply with. Now that doesn't affect what people will say about it, but I looked into this and it's legal for WEC as far as I can see, because the regulation that's there in the GT3 that makes that body post mod illegal is not there in WEC.
Apparently now it's also used in the Euro series as well. Is illegal. That's what teams say. I mean, they can do whatever they want, right? It's their regulation. It's not the Disca Euro series. So it's Inter series.
It's Inter series, and
yeah,
I don't think anyone's running any Euro series at the moment. I think we are in the UK.
No.
So yeah.
So, but if we are gonna raise the Suzuka next year, that's what we are gonna face.
We did it this year with the racer sideways. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't thought about Suzuka for next year, but I suspect it's going to be heavily influenced by whatever happens at the PR24, Paul Ricard 24. That will inform our decisions quite a bit, I suspect.
Should be interesting.
I actually went to see some GT3 cars racing in person this last weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
They were impressive.
Yeah, they fly.
Large cars, though, stood near to them and next to them and whatnot. And I was either very close to the circuit, or the circuit is, well, Alton Park is the circuit, and it's known for being narrow in general. It's almost like the British Monaco. No, it's not, because it's not city centre based. But yeah, it's narrow and it's very difficult to overtake there. And by golly, those things shift. I had to investigate with somebody, one of the kids actually, who knew more than I. Anybody know how much brake horsepower those things produce? Because my kids seem to think they're in the 750 brake horsepower range.
I think it's a little bit less than that, but they're pretty powerful.
Yeah, they move.
The street cars are actually more powerful than GT3 cars.
Yeah, I think for the GT3, for the BOP, I don't know if they move around the 500 whatever. I mean, I think they are
Oh, man.
limited.
I can tell you something about the BOP in British GT anyway, and they were doing it with ballast, and the step changes in ballast between a car that's had success and one that hasn't can be as little as 5 kilograms. Now, I don't know how much the whole car weighs, but as a percentage, that's going to be an absolutely tiny amount, which means just goes to echo that power to weight ratio is key, is critical, absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean getting it going and getting it stopped, but I mean getting it through a corner as well. Yeah, some cars are running 25 kilos, some running 30, and some running as little as none, I think. But yeah, I don't fully understand how the BOP works in the British. I don't understand any of the BOPs, whether they're applied at World Championship level or British GT level. But yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed that.
Lenny, you ready to try again?
Yep.
Go for it.
Okay. Okay, I'll forget about the slotted championship. What are we seeing? Are we seeing a picture now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Sheep Station.
All right, so it was round 4 of our point score series, aka the Sheep Station round, hence all this carry on here. The 3 classes were Classic Sports and GT, River Slot Sports and GT, and what we now call Home Racing GT, which is a combination of Carreras and Scalextrics. That incidentally is a Carrera after all the Carrera discussion we've just had. Previously, it was fairly competitive, but on the night it was a disaster for various reasons. But anyway, so there's the results of the Scalextric round. Just quickly go through all these. Andrew once again cleaned it up, and then Steve Lambert, and then Jason finally got a good result. He's had a few weeks away, so he was fairly happy with that, I think. Then Ian, Callum, Andrew, Norm, Jeff. Jeff also had a Carrera. He didn't have a very good night either. So then George, then me. That sort of shows you where I finished up. And I was struggling a fair bit. Tim's a new guy and Claude's our outright beginner. So he's still learning how to do things. We'll get him in for a bit of driver training shortly so we can get his speed up a bit. And there's the podium. Andrew decided to run a Scaly Bentley this week. So that was a bit of a surprise. Most of the time they're not as competitive as the others. Then Steve's SLS Mercedes and Jason's CR8 Corvette. So on to the next race was the Revo Slot GTs. And this, I'd have to say, this race is absolutely epic. You can see there by the difference in the results. There's less than half a lap between the top three. I raced alongside Ian for 3 heats, and we were not more than a car length apart, basically, for the whole 3 heats. It was one of the most enjoyable races I've had for a very long time. And then Andrew, who doesn't like Revo slots, he missed out on the podium this time. Then Tim, big improvement for Tim. He's got a good car. Then Jason, Callum, Norm, Steve, George, Andrew, and Claude. So seeing Claude's holding the rest of us up, keeping us off the ground. And there's the podium for that. So was a SLS for Ian, my 333 SP for myself, and then a GD1 for who finished third? Jeff. So yeah, great racing in that particular class. Very close, and the times aren't exactly slow either on this for the tracks that they're doing. They're in the 6.4s, which is previously a pretty good GT time, GD3 time. So finally, I didn't get the results for this, but the result sheet for this, but the last race was for classic sports and GT cars. And Andrew top scored for that one with his 908 hybrid. I think it's got a thunder slot motor in it, and slotted parts and NSR parts. And then Jeff with his thunder slot Lola. And then Ian scored third with his NSR 4 GD40. That thing is really quick considering what it is. Upsets quite a few of the other cars and gets good results. There's the points. The points thing, you probably can't really see it very well, but Andrew's on top. He's starting to clear away a little bit. He's got 231 to Jeff, 194, then me, 184, then the rest of us. It's a bit boring. I'll try another video. Can you see that? So that's one of the classic sports car race heats.
Yeah, it's black.
That's about a minute long.
Black screen.
Yep, can't see nothing.
Can't see nothing. Okay, it's not letting me play videos.
I mean,
All right.
technically, I can see nothing.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't like double negatives? What's up with that?
So I can't see the videos for some reason. That's interesting. Anyway, so that's been my racing in the last month. The slotted races weren't very successful for me. I had tyre problems, and I couldn't get any grip to the point where it was like driving a rally car. But that's the end of that, I guess. Then a little bit of show and tell before I go. I won't worry about videos, photos. I'm getting into 24 scale racing as well. So, scale size. So this is for our classic touring car class. It's a Holden Tirana, VAC4 body, one of Paddo's body. So it's well used. So it's got a few cracks and things, all glued up. So we'll see how that one goes on the weekend. And we're running Can-Am cars as well. So it's a McLaren M6. Haven't finished putting it together yet, but it's a laser cut chassis in the old style on urethane tyres. So it should be fun tomorrow night, I hope. That's it for me. I'll get out your way. Sorry about all the kerfuffle and carry on. But,
no worries, mate.
Yeah, good on you.
Fair dinkum.
Yeah, it's Reggie Ditch, mate.
All right.
All right.
Got 15 minutes.
Don't like my hand.
Yeah, put your head down.
Friday.
Stop interrupting me. Do it for you.
A question for some of the guys from the down under part of the world there. On eBay, I picked up a laser, I think it's a laser cut stainless chassis, and it was labeled Paddo's Place, but it's I don't know can you see this logo? Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, it's an MJK, I think. Okay. Yeah, that's an MJK.
It's inline, apparently. Yep. And what were these intended for? I mean, were they, you know, it's somewhat adjustable. The wheelbase is somewhat adjustable.
Yeah, anything you can fit on there, basically. Scale.
Okay. Let's see.
But that's what these two showed previously. They're MJK chassis.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So, I'll show the Can-Am one.
The card says 132nd.
Yeah, yeah. Pato would have job lot of them years ago. He's still trying to clear them out, I think.
Oh, okay. So, okay. It's not nicely made. Really.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I know the guy. They're laser cut. And the guy runs his own business, and he sold the MJK name to someone else. And I think they're still using up all the old stock.
Okay. But, thank you. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty sturdy. I've got a couple here somewhere.
Yeah, it's like a tank.
Yeah, they're made in Adelaide, in my hometown. So the guy that's MJK back in the 70s, he was making laser cut chassis, and we were still building them with piano wire and brass. So
yeah,
that's how long he's been doing it.
I thought it was much later than that, but anyway, I intend to use this on one of those Firebirds.
Yeah, it'll go on one of them.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, you guys want me to hit the stop button so you can stop being worried about what you say? Yes. All right. Nobody wants to talk on live, so we're done. Everybody wave bye till next week. Bye-bye. And stream finished.